The onus is on us to advise our patients and to say, if you're going to go the cannabis route, this is what will help you. This is what you should know.
Now let's move into the discussion of cannabis.
Let me start by saying that this is all new to me. Cannabis is not something that was discussed in medical school. It's not something we learned in our residency. It's not something that comes up at medical conferences. One of the interesting things I learned when I'm doing my research for Hot Flash Hell in my chapter on cannabis is we may not have been learning about it, but it's been around in the medical literature for a long time. And the Merck Manual, which of course is a very, very old medical textbook dating back to the mid-1800s, I was able to get a copy of the Merck Manual from 1870. And in the one page on menopause, they didn't call it menopause then, they called it the climacteric, but on the one page, they say in the list of treatments, cannabis. Cannabis is there. It's absolutely there. And I always laugh, it's kind of funny that it's right next to a change of atmosphere and fresh air. So I said, well, this is great. What a great recommendation for a suffering menopausal woman. She should take a vacation and smoke some pot and she'll feel so much better. And that was back in the 1800s. But I think the other thing is that aside from the fact that it's been around for a long time and we do have a science behind it, is the other thing that I now appreciate is that women are doing it anyway. And there was a study that came out, it was about a year ago. It's the only study that I've been able to find that basically questioned menopause women to say, how often are you using cannabis to relieve menopause symptoms? And in this one study, they said 27% of women at some point had tried cannabis in order to relieve hot flashes, vaginal dryness, sleep, libido, all the other hot topics. And I thought, wow, I bet it's higher than that, because in our clinic, we talk to women all the time and we ask them directly, have you tried cannabis? And it seems like everyone says yes. So I have a survey, which I've just put out there, and the results are just starting to come in, but I thought I want to do my own research to find out what's going on in the country now, because I wanted a much bigger pool, a much bigger population. And so I've only had a few hundred responses. I'm hoping for more. And for any of your viewers who want to take the survey, it's on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Dr. Streicher. And what I've learned so far with only about 200 surveys that have come in is that, first of all, 90% of women who have taken my survey tried cannabis. Granted, a skewed population. These are women who are answering the survey because they're interested in this, but still pretty striking. But the other thing that's so striking to me is they are not getting any advice as to how to take it, what to take it. And they're out there on their own. So one of the questions I asked in the survey is, who advised you? Who advised you what to take? And it's multiple choice, so it's my doctor, healthcare professional. Like, no one says that. At the dispensary, probably 20-25% of people. But the overwhelming majority of respondents say, I had to figure it out on my own. And then when I ask what they're taking for these specific symptoms, they're not taking the right thing to address their symptoms. So I think also as doctors, and it's kind of uncomfortable for us because we don't have the good studies, we don't have the good data, but I do think that the onus is on us to advise our patients and to say, if you're going to go the cannabis route, this is what will help you. This is what you should know in terms of how you take it, meaning smoke it, eat it, put it under your tongue, put it on your vagina, put it on your vulva, put it on your clitoris. How do you take it? How often do you use it? And then what product? What kind of product? I think we really need to help our patients with that.
Well, and how is it working? How is it working with menopausal symptoms? I mean, definitely, like we know there's the CBD versus the THC components, and how it's working neurologically within our system to support that ease, that relaxation, that hormonal balance.
Well, going back, and you'd already brought it up, if you go back to the endocannabinoids, and there's a very specific, endocannabinoids, of course, our internal system, our natural system that keeps our body in balance and in check for all kinds of systems, including just, how we feel, our appetite, our sense of well-being, but also our internal thermostat. And one of the things that I learned is that one of the endocannabinoids, very specifically controls our thermostat, and that estrogen is required in the metabolic pathway of that internal cannabinoid. So in many ways, it first of all makes sense that when we're out of estrogen, when our estrogen tank is on empty, that's one of the things that's going to throw off our internal thermostat. But it's the other reason why cannabis actually can get us back on track. Specifically, let's talking hot flashes right now, specifically with hot flashes. But again, it has to be the right one. So what's the right one? It's got to be THC. If you take CBD, which has all kinds of benefits, we can go through all the benefits of CBD, but when it comes to hot flash relief, you really need THC. And specifically, you need to also have some indica in there. So we're looking at the hybrids, meaning a combination of CBD, THC, make sure it's indica. Those are the kinds of things that would help women who are trying to address their hot flashes and they just don't know what to take. So,
and indica is a type
it's one of the
of
types,
marijuana.
correct. So, when we talk about types, there's sativa that I always say, remember sativa sex. Sativa is the one that helps with perhaps libido, but it's not going to help your hot flashes. Indica is the one that appears to help hot flashes. So someone says to me, well, what if I want to help my hot flashes and my sex life? Well, that's where the hybrids come in. Or, when you might choose to use one versus another. So many women, their issue is sleep, or maybe it's joint pain. So it really gets very tricky. And again, women are relying on either what they can figure out on their own or what they're advised by someone at the dispensary. And let's be real clear, the man or the woman working behind the counter at the dispensary is not a medical professional. And they're basically giving their recommendations anecdotally, what they've been told or what someone else has told them. And sometimes they're right, but sometimes they're wrong. And so my one mantra when I tell women that they're going to go the cannabis route is be very, very careful. Start slow and go low. Whatever that person tells you in the dispensary, cut it in half. If you need more than that, you'll get there eventually, but you don't want to overdo it. And the reason why this is so important is that the science now shows us that postmenopause women metabolize cannabis different than premenopause women. Women already metabolize it more slowly than men, we know that. But postmenopause, because estrogen, you need estrogen to metabolize the cannabinoids. So when you give any cannabis to a postmenopause woman, it is gonna take forever for her to metabolize it. And the 21-year-old behind the counter in the dispensary is not going to appreciate that. So if you eat the gummy and then 2 hours later, you're thinking, okay, first of all, it was really good. It tasted good. And number two, I'm really not feeling the effect. You're going to pop another gummy. And guess what? You're going to have too much because it might take you 2 hours to metabolize it. And then suddenly you've gotten way more than you need. So you have to really be mindful of the fact that you have to just take it slowly, just a little bit at a time.
That's good. That's good information. Which one benefits sleep the most?
Probably it's going to be indica. It's going to be CBD. And again, we don't have good data, but on my survey, for whatever it's worth so far, when I asked symptom by symptom, what did using cannabis help your symptoms? And when it comes to things like hot flashes and libido and painful sex and all that, which we know is so multifactorial, it's kind of all over the place. Sleep was literally so far 98% of women in my survey say, yep, I'm sleeping just great. And sleep is so critical. So often when women come into the clinic and they say, I'm moody and I'm tired and I'm miserable and I'm this and I'm that. And the first question is, well, are you sleeping? No. How many hours a day tonight? Maybe 4 or 5. Well, okay. We have to figure out why you're not sleeping. It might be hot flashes. We have to fix the hot flashes. It might be restless leg. It might be sleep apnea. There might be that you're like completely stressed out about the state of the world. Whatever it is, we need to address it because if you don't sleep, nothing else is going to work for you.
Well said. Well said. I couldn't agree with you more. Definitely. It is one of the hardest things to do in menopause and postmenopause, getting those good night's sleep.
Absolutely. And I cannot tell you how important it is. Even when we talk about weight loss, we talk about how hard it is for postmenopause women to lose the weight and maintain a healthy weight. And, We get that. We get that. But the component that people forget is the sleep component, because what they'll say is, I don't get it. I am eating right. I am exercising. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and I cannot lose the weight. And again, my question always is, are you sleeping? And when they say no, maybe 4 or 5 hours, that's what's sabotaging their weight loss plan, because we know that the hunger hormones, leptins and ghrelins, are controlled by sleep. And if you don't get that 7 hours in, it doesn't matter how good you are about avoiding carbs and doing 3 hours of cardiovascular exercise every day, you're not going to lose the weight. So when we talk about how hot flashes impact on weight, part of it is a direct relationship, but a lot of it is just the sleep issue. But that's, again, to circle back to the cannabis thing, that's why it is so beneficial for women to use cannabis to get a good night's sleep, but they need to do it the right way. I'm trying to encourage women not to vape or smoke, because that's not good for your lungs.
No.
And I'm also steering people away from the edibles, because while they are delicious, and I always say they should put it on broccoli. People wouldn't eat too much then, but because they're all like candy and brownies and cookies and gummies and all that good stuff. But really the safest way, quite frankly, for a woman to use cannabis is using one of the tinctures that goes under the tongue, because the beauty of that is that you're not messing with your lungs. And it's not going through the gastrointestinal system, which is, quite frankly, where you get into this slow metabolism. So if someone uses a tincture under the tongue, they're going to get their peak effect in like 10 minutes. So you can really gauge if it's helping you. But people are kind of not thinking about that. They're not steered that way. The under tongue thing is very important.
Yeah, and I think the tinctures, like in my experience too, it's just a better way to go, especially bypass hepatic metabolism, bypass the gastrointestinal tract, and sublingual. I believe the same for hormones too. Sublingual, subbuccal, in between under the tongue or in between the cheek and gum. Well, night sweats, hot flashes, tossing, turning, covers on, covers off are one of the first signs that a woman who is approaching menopause experiences. Soon after, you may experience brain fog, fatigue, crashing fatigue, weight gain despite not doing anything different, as well as a decrease in libido. Well, that's when you want to definitely get on Mighty Maca Plus. Through over 10 years of clinical experience and hundreds of physicians that recommend this combination of superfoods that taste great, but they do the job. It is, without a doubt, the number one supplement you should be taking and trying. 100% risk-free. I want you to try it. So go to dranna.com and use the code SHOW10 to get 10% off your first order. Okay, are there certain ones that you found to be able to recommend with more confidence than others?
Not yet. I'm very careful with my recommendations. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a very new world to me. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to really learn the science behind it. I don't recommend specific products. I'm just saying, go THC, go with indica. But I do have to caution people that there's a lot of different growers out there. There's a lot of different places where you can source cannabis, and it matters. It matters. It matters what you're getting. You want to find a source that you can really trust what's in it, that it's going to be consistent, that you're going to get the same thing every time you use it. There is a cannabis farm that I have a relationship with. Full disclosure, I was just there in Oregon. I talk about it in my book a little bit. This is Jim Belushi's farm, Blues Brothers Bud. And I was out there because we happened to be personal friends, and we were out there. He was filming some stuff for the Discovery Channel for his TV show, Growing Belushi. But it was great for me because I had an opportunity to see how it's done right, how it's pure, to meet with the growers, to really talk about the medicinal aspects. And just my luck, the week that I was there is when all the chocolatiers were out there talking about infusing their chocolate with cannabis. So it was very delicious, but we had to be very careful with what we were ingesting. But so I'm learning, but it's important for us to learn, to acknowledge that this is helpful. Our patients are doing it, so let's do it right.
Let's do it. Let's be able to guide them in it, the best of our ability. It's a new world for me too, Lauren. So I thank you for talking about it. A lot to do, a lot to learn, constantly evolving. And then again, the safest, healthiest way, go slow, really be in tune with your body, what's working for you, what's not working for you. Do your health inventory. I mean, for our listeners, our audience, I mean, check in with yourself and see what's working for you, what's not working for you. And I will say, if you don't test, you're guessing. And that includes your at-home questionnaires. I have those for you in the Hormone Fix. Those are there. It's available. You want to check that out and definitely get good resources. So Dr. Streicher's books, I mean, so prolific, so many of them. So Amazon and everywhere else. And thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel here and get those notifications, and comment below. Let me know your thoughts, what you loved, and what your action step is.